Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Pokemon Pocket deck profile for you. This time coming at you with a build that I am quite eager to play myself, mostly because of how much I like the Pokemon and the character associated with it. Garchomp is what we're playing today, aka the Cynthia deck. So for our build, we're playing 2 Gible, 2 Gabite, 2 Garchomp, 2 Druddigon, 2 Pokeball, 2 Pokemon Communication, 2 Rocky Helmet, 2 Professor's Research, 1 Sabrina, 1 Cyrus, and then of course 2 Cynthia. So I will say, of all of the deck profiles I've done recently, this build is probably one of the less competitive ones, but it is quite fun. I think Garchomp plus Cynthia is just a really cool combination, being able to do 100 but potentially up to 150 damage for only 2 energy is really, really something. Now, it is on a stage 2, and of course, like every other dragon Pokemon, Garchomp does require 2 different energies to attack, a fighting and a water. So you're always kind of running that 50-50 risk of not being able to get what you need. But the idea is that Druddigon plus Rocky Helmet is good enough to help stall us in time to get there. I am slightly considering Giant Cape over Rocky Helmet, but there are just barely enough situations where 100 versus 120 kind of matters. And it also can kind of matter with Garchomp. Garchomp typically has, I think... Oh, I actually don't remember. Is it 150 or 140 HP? Either way, you could definitely use the Giant's Cape for sure with an HP like that. But the Rocky Helmet does, of course, also have its own benefits, as we're seeing here, damaging this coughing as it's going into attack. As it dealt 20 to us and we just dealt 40 back. It's kind of wild. But yeah, in a meta of Darkrai's, it's really hard for a strategy like this that isn't able to follow the same pace as Darkrai to be successful, right? Like, Darkrai can steadily deal damage while it's getting built up for its energy attack, which, you know, 80 damage for 3 energy is like a pretty fair rate. But when you, again, have been dealing that incidental damage with the ability all the way up to that point, that's where it really starts to add up. And while, yes, we do use a similar Druddigon that a lot of Darkrai builds use, like a Druddigon setup, you know, the Garchomp isn't able to, of course, deal damage over time, and does take more setup. Because not only do you need the right energy, but you also need the right evolution as well. We do have Pokemon Communication to help with that. This Sabrina is a little bit nasty, because not only does it force out the Gabite, but it's also going to deal... let them deal damage to it, which is also going to let them potentially force it out with Cyrus later. Yeah, funny enough, the Garchomp ability, it's actually kind of like a combination of everything that makes this deck, I think, as good as it is. I know I just got to saying about why it wasn't that great, but I will say that, you know, again, dealing 100, even 100 damage for 2 energy is really good, but the ability to deal 150 with the Cynthia is pretty exceptional, right? Here I'm going to discard one of my 2 Pokemon Communications to draw a card. This ends up being Professor's Research. I'll draw a couple more here. I already have another Pokemon Communication in hand. Plus, the way that these draws are going, I don't think I'll necessarily need it. Find another Gible. I'll go ahead and set that up. This is another pretty big benefit for this deck, too, is that it doesn't run any EXs. Garchomp is just a regular Pokemon. It is not an EX, meaning that your opponent's only going to be taking 1 point at a time. They have to KO 3 Pokemon to win, whereas for pretty much every other deck, because they have an EX in them, you only have to KO 2 Pokemon in order to actually win. So that means there is a decent amount of games where you'll be able to, like, battle with one Garchomp, it gets KO'd, and then if you don't already have the second Garchomp setup, you can potentially stall and set up for the second one with a Druddigon, and even if that gets KO'd, that's still fine, because that's just 2 points, right? I'm a little bit worried about my Garchomp here. Now that it's at 80 HP, it can be threatened by the Dark Prism from the Darkrai, which I'm not a big fan of. Yeah, they're going to play an Arbok as well. Okay. Drawing another Druddigon here. I really want to get into my other Garchomp here, but I'm having a bit of a difficulty drawing the evolution line, so I think I'm going to use a Pokemon Communication. To be fair, I'm also having a little bit of trouble finding another fighting energy. Again, that is kind of a bit of a drawback here, right? Okay, we do find a Garchomp. I don't know if I want to use Reckless Shearing here, though, because... Okay, yeah, we can give up Cyrus. That's actually fine. Because the Darkrai isn't damaged, and we can one-shot it. We just need this Darkrai to come in while we have a Garchomp set up and a Cynthia in our hand, right? They don't have any points yet, which is pretty good for us. We can Pokeball to find the Druddigon again. And I'm just going to straight up retreat here, I think, into the Druddigon I currently have active. Now, since I have Water Energy currently lined up, and then one for next turn, we're, of course, going to detach the Water Energy to retreat, and then we can just reattach it right away. I might as well have played the Druddigon here, because I'm out of Pokemon communications, because I played one and discarded the other. I guess I could still discard Druddigon for Reckless Shearing if I really want to try to dig for the Gabite / Garchomp. Well, I already have the Garchomp in hand, right? Yeah, so I just need to find the Gabite here. I definitely want to hold on to these Cynthias, just in case I need both. Yeah, they're really thinking here. So, I don't like the idea of the Arbok forcing the weaker Garchomp to stay in so it can two-shot it over time. I mean, granted, they have to attach 2 Dark Energy. They're actually going to attach an energy to Darkrai before just passing. Okay, Sabrina is interesting, but the problem here is that we can't Sabrina and Cynthia in the same turn. Maybe... I thought about maybe using Sabrina this turn, and then just letting it KO... letting Darkrai KO the Druddigon, and then sending it to Garchomp on the follow turn. But I was really worried about my opponent having the Cyrus here to just force in the Garchomp at that point, right? Because here, they can't Cyrus and Leaf in the same turn, and Arbok has a retreat cost of 2. I guess if they have X-Speed, if they play that... But I have a hard time imagining they play X-Speed. If they're on Coughing, they're probably on Wheezing, which means there's a decent chance they're on Koga as well. I don't think you can fit Koga, Leaf, and X-Speed all in the same deck. Like, all 3 of those cards, that is. But... And I have a hard time imagining X-Speed is the one that you settle on, because Arbok, Wheezing... I think Wheezing has a retreat cost of 3, right? Arbok and Darkrai both have a retreat cost of 2, so... Another Rocky Helmet doesn't really do a ton for us here. Oh, we really can't find a Fighting Energy here to finish setting up this second Garchomp. If I could find that other Fighting Energy, I would be a lot more confident about this game. Like, if I had a Fighting Energy this turn... Well, okay, sorry. If I had a Fighting Energy coming up on the next turn I would just attach it to the full HP Garchomp, and then just straight up retreat the Druddigon for the weaker Garchomp. Just let it come in, KO the Arbok, let it get KO'd by Darkrai, so then the other Garchomp comes in and one-shots the Darkrai with Cynthia. But, like I said, I can't find the second Fighting Energy, which makes this a little bit more precarious. I think I'm just going to pass here. There's like no reason to try to go this aggressive against the Arbok, since KOing it's not like it's going to win me the game anyway. I really want to KO that Darkrai. Okay, so I'm going to Pokeball. I don't really care about that as much. Actually, if they play a weak basic here, that might even work. Well, it would work in my favor if I could find another Fighting Energy to attack with the second Garchomp. This is always, I mean, in Pocket, going to be the big weakness with Dragon Pokemon, right? It's the big weakness with the Dragonite deck. There's some times where it's trying to find that electric energy. It's always the water energy that seems to want to come up the most, but my opponent's really thinking here too. So they're going to put another energy on Arbok, and I think you can just attack with Arbok here, because that would KO the Druddigon, and then it would force me to put in my weaker Garchomp, and then my second Garchomp wouldn't be set up. But I think what my opponent ends up doing is actually retreating for the Darkrai, which I was like sitting here hoping they would do that. That's the ideal play for me, because I'm pretty sure Arbok's Corner does deal 60 damage. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to see what they do. Oh yeah, they're running low on their timer here. I don't know. I feel like it's obvious. I feel like you crunch here, but they actually do end up... Or not crunch, corner. They actually do end up retreating and then not attacking. So that is perfectly fine with me. And sure enough, there's finally the other fighting energy about to come up, but at this point it doesn't matter. We can just put in our Garchomp that's already set up, activate Cynthia, and then we can Dragon Claw for 150, and that's going to secure the game. Because we KO'd that coughing earlier. Alright, so taking down a Darkrai deck. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Not not a matchup. I don't. It's not like we're like unfavored. I just think that the Darkrai deck is more powerful. Okay, so as we head into our next game here. All right, let's see what we've got. Our next opponent's going to be on Palkia. Sorry, one sec. Alright, so next opponent's going to be on Palkia. We're going second. And yeah, opening with both Druddigon and Gible is quite good. And we have Professor's Research as well. Just mainly waiting for the Gabite Garchomp lineup here. Opponent's going to lead with Manaphy and Articuno. Yeah, the Palkia doesn't end up coming down until later. I maybe thought that my opponent was just on like a Manaphy into like Articuno style deck. But does not seem to be the case. Well, I mean, it does seem to be the case for now, but it doesn't end up being the case is more what I meant to say. It's nice to see the mix of fighting and water energy on early on rather. Would definitely rather have it than not. Professor's Research doesn't really find anything here, just a Pokemon Communication and a Cynthia. That's fine, I guess, for the time being, although our opponent is starting to set up. They have the Vaporeon ready as well. And I will say this, when you're on a Druddigon deck, Manaphy is actually pretty scary. Because, I mean, yeah, you're also setting up while your Druddigon is out, but your opponent's setting up at a rate that's almost assuredly faster than you are, with the Manaphy just getting to use Oceanic Gift over and over. It almost makes you wish that Oceanic Gift would deal 10 more, like just 10 damage. I feel like it would be, that would almost be a nerf, funnily enough. Because of exactly Druddigon. Okay, we got the Gabite and another Gible, as well as the Garchomp. So, that's a pretty good series of draws right there. Yeah, I think, again, the hardest part about this deck is needing to get both the energies and the stage 2, everything all, and the Cynthia. Having everything all at once is kind of like a little bit of an Exodia feeling deck in a way. Okay, they've got their Articuno EX ready to start using Blizzard. They're going to put a Giant Cape on it. That actually doesn't really matter here because as soon as it attacks Druddigon, it's going to be below 160 anyway. Although I will say Giant Cape is becoming such an important card because so many Pokemon in the meta have 140 HP, and just having 160 is such an important number right now. 160 lets you survive so many things. Palkia's Dimensional Storm. It, of course, lets you survive Gyarados' Hurricane, I think, attack. It's called something Hurricane. Against this deck, it lets you survive Cynthia Garchomp. It lets you survive Mewtwo's attack, Side Drive. There's just a ton of things in the meta that... Oh, and for Darkrai in particular, it lets you survive Yanmega's attack with the weakness. So yeah, having 160 HP ends up being extremely important for, like, literally everything this meta. Alright, so they're going to Blizzard again, which KOs my Druddigon, but that's fine. We are looking like we're almost going to go for another double Garchomp setup, but yet again, the thing that ends up getting in our way is the lack of a fighting energy! Ah! I don't know, it's like, I wish, why doesn't it just alternate? You know, if you got two energies in a deck, it should just alternate instead of being random. I mean, the fact that it's random is why mono-type decks are the norm, right? I don't know. Maybe they tested it alternating and that was just, like, too good, but I feel like at that point you just make the energy requirements a little more strict. Like, I notice all these attacks that have, you know, some amount of colorless energy blended in, and except for niche cases like Magnezone, it just doesn't really end up mattering a lot of the time, right? Because you're always going to be, like, unless you're on a dragon, unless you're on, like, pretty much exactly Dragonite or Garchomp, you're literally always going to be a mono-type deck. There's no reason to never, like, you should never play multiple types. There's no reason to do it. Alright, the Giant's Cape is a little more annoying here since my opponent knows what's up. Otherwise, I could have just finished the game this turn. As it stands, my Garchomp that's in the active is in a little bit of trouble, but we do have another Fighting Energy coming up on my follow-up turn, and we are definitely going to be able to use our bench Garchomp, and that Cyrus is also a very, very good draw. So basically now, I just got to damage this Articuno that's in the active slot, and at that point, I'll be able to just pull in the, pull it in with the Cyrus if they retreat. I was debating if I wanted to use Cynthia here or not. It's like, I might as well use it this turn, because I'm going to need to use another supporter next turn, right? The Cyrus, so it doesn't really end up mattering. Maybe I should have just saved it. I actually definitely should have just saved it, right? Because then if they retreat and put in Palkia, I could have just KO'd the active Palkia on the next turn with the... It doesn't really matter. Well, I mean, it might. I don't know. I can't really think of a scenario where it does, but there's kind of... There's no reason to do it, really. And there might have been a reason not to do it that I'm not thinking of. Alright, looks like they're moving everything to Palkia, gearing up for a Dimensional Storm in order to take out this Garchomp. Which is a little bit overkill, I think. It's only at 40 HP. I mean, obviously they're afraid of me using Cynthia, but, like, I'm just gonna... Well, I already used both Cynthias, so they shouldn't really be afraid of that now that I think about it. Well, in any case, they are killing my first Garchomp, but we can just bring in the other one. Now we've got that Fighting Energy coming up, so we are all set here. Yep, attach the energy, activate Cyrus, pull in the Articuno, bada bing, bada boom. We finish it with the 1-2. So we're coming up on the end of the video, so I'm just going to start saying now, thank you everybody so much for watching. Feel free to sub if you want to see more Pokemon Pocket profiles. There are definitely more coming up soon. But that's going to be all for now. So this is Hexlex. I am signing out and hoping that you have a fantastic day.